Hello, and welcome to episode 400 of the Awesome Comics Podcast, the place where the small press makes one hell of a big noise. My name is Vince Hunt, and joining me as always is the creator of the webcomic Vanguard, Dan Butcher.
Hello.
The writer behind such titles as Atomic Hercules and many more that will stick in your mind for quite some time, Tony Esmond.
And stick in your eye.
And as you can see, we're highbrow immediately.
Look, there's a delay now because I'm just looking at fucking people laughing and taking piss. This is going to be different. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah. And before we kick off, in the producing booth and keeping this week's ship sailing smoothly, as always, it's the fourth Beatle, the one and only Tom Curry.
Hello.
All right, Tom.
Tom's gone full Clarkson. We all put a shirt and tie on, but he's gone and put a jacket on.
Jackets. I've got some jeans as well.
You got some. I think he had some salmon chinos on.
I changed them out. Couldn't handle them anymore, frankly.
Yeah. But everyone looks lovely this evening, and by everyone I mean all of the lovely people that have joined us for this particular.
Yeah, can you believe
episode. Yes, this today marks our 400th official episode of the ACP. Yes, I know there's been a couple of...
There's been a few specials and stuff, hasn't there?
There's been a few specials, convention specials, but this is another
standard
little milestone.
Episodes.
What do they call it in like their numbering in comics when they have the specials? But what is the...
Annuals.
No, you know...
Legacy numbering.
The legacy numbering, that's what it is, isn't it? This is the number 400. This is the official 400th. So, instead of a guest... we have invited a lot of the friends of the show and listeners of the show to come and listen as we're just going to have some Q&As. We're going to probably talk a load of nonsense. Talk about comics. It's all going to be comics, of course, because that's what we love talking about.
It's in the title.
Yeah. Oh, Dan, you're as professional
How long
now.
did it take him to say that?
Yeah, you're as professional now as episode 1.
The best thing behind the curtain, all we've had today is Dan saying things like, "What's the link again? Where are these questions?"
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know, it's just
I'm not organised.
No. None of us are, apart from Tom. Thank God.
Yeah, thank God.
Yeah. So it's going to be a bit special. There's going to be some questions, obviously some recommendations at the end, and who knows, maybe a surprise or two. And do you know what doesn't surprise me though?
Comic House.
Yes.
Where's Pete? Is he
our
here?
lovely sponsor? No, I don't think. I think he'll just catch how unprofessional this sponsorship
tomorrow.
is. Yeah. Sponsorship. This show gets sponsored. Yes. That's how we've made it this far.
Don't look at the chat. I'll put you off, Vince.
I'm not looking at any of that. In fact, I've closed down the Zoom window. Anyway, Comic House is an indie comic marketplace with a difference.
Yeah.
And Tony, I suggest you don't look at it because you'll just be laughing through this whole episode and we won't be able to get anything done.
Drew, what have you done? Yeah, okay, sorry. Let's go on.
How many of our listeners have read that fucking nuts comic, Recipe for Ascension?
Oh,
Remember
God.
that?
I do you know what? I saw that on Comic House, on the huge database that's on Comic House, of indie comics. If you self-publish, you can list your book on there as well. It's another avenue to get your work out to the masses. And they have a digital app of which there's loads of comics being added there all the time. It's basically like £3 per month. You get access to loads of different comics that are being added to all the time, including, what was the one you just mentioned, Dan?
The most excellent Recipe for Ascension, Volume 1, Issue 1.
I've read that. That's like some kind of
Have
weird...
you read it? Because I didn't want it to affect my browser history.
That's like Chariots of the Gods, or one of these sort of books about God was an alien. It's a bit like that, isn't it?
Do you want to hear the story synopsis?
Well,
yes, please.
Yes, please. Yeah.
A 50-year-old romp of a star-crossed couple chosen to be leaders of a paradigm switch from organic to non-organic world. There you go.
I don't even know what that means.
It's the classic.
I have no idea what I don't know. I don't understand anything you just said. So I need to read it myself, and if I want to, I can easily go to Comic House and check it out. And if you want to find out more about Comic House, which we really recommend you do, they are a really great service that loves comics as much as everyone here tonight, of which there's more than 4 of us, trust us. Go to comichouse.com, and thank you as always to Pete and the gang for supporting the show.
Yeah, thanks guys. Good.
Yes, we were just about to kick off. We were just about to start off when there was a knock on the ACPHQ door, wasn't there, Tony and Dan?
It was.
We
Yeah.
were like, who is this? And we open it up. It's only the one and only Pat Mills.
Hey,
Hello.
Pat, you right?
Hi.
Thanks for coming.
Hi,
Mate. We do appreciate it. Yeah. Ruining your Sunday afternoon or anything.
Yeah.
I'll say, Pat, you got a lot of traction off of that. The most recent Substack post of Charlie's War, that 3-panel one with
Yeah.
That was today's one, wasn't it? Today's.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot on Twitter, and I think normally with with most of these subjects, you can't stop me sort of mouthing off about it. I just can't really go for it. But where those 3 panels are concerned, maybe because they are so shocking, I just got, I've got nothing I can add to it. And they're probably the most powerful images in Charlie's War. So anyone who's not familiar with them, it's where it's the remains of his best mate in a bag, and an officer thinks he's looting. Says, "What have you got in that bag?" And he says, "My mate, sir, my mate Ginger."
Oh man, it's brutal.
And it's like, in a way, it was such a high point. And of course, you know what it's like with whatever kind of comic any of us do. You always want to try and hit that high point again,
Yeah.
and you never can, or not in that way. It's a one-off, and so when I wrote about it in for Substack, normally something like that, I don't know, I'd probably been about 1,500 words, but this was just about 700. It's about all.
Okay.
Like
you said, what can you say?
Shocking. It's like what it left me, I think, as speechless and as traumatized as so many young readers must have been, or appear to have been, from what they were saying on Twitter. They're saying, Christ, when I picked up my copy of Battle and saw that, it was like, oh my God.
It's interesting to see, like a lot of people were commenting saying that the kind of the whole thing was brought home to them through reading the comics over what they'd learnt in school and what they'd read in school books. And I guess for a lot of kids, they wouldn't have the kind of exposure that maybe kids they can look at YouTube or whatever service. So it must have had a big old impact.
Yeah, it did. And as I often rant about today, it's actually more important today because there's so much censorship of World War One.
Yeah.
So the image today, when did that come out? End of the 70s, early 80s. There was a lot more freedom of speech then than there is now. And it's that very British way of controlling things. So it's a really simple formula they have. If you want to say something controversial, you're never going to get it published. You're going to have to self-publish. And that's the only way forward. Whereas back then, it was still possible to work within the tram lines. Not anymore.
Yeah. There's nowhere in English comics anymore that would publish Charlie's War. I think maybe France,
No.
I'm guessing.
No, there wasn't, because as the centenary years came up, I went through, I think, 3 variations. So in other words, I thought, this is the perfect time to do not a sequel to Charlie's War, but something, in the same style. And so I put something together with David Hitchcock. And I think his designs, actually, from a book publisher's point of view, will probably suit book publishers more than Joe's work, which actually has more of a comic book feeling. Mm-hmm. And the excuses were classic. It was my favorite was, sorry, our list is full for this year. And I had an insider working on it, and it's, well, what about next year? Sorry, we're full up for next year as well. And then with another publisher, they said, we've already got a World War One writer, on our list, so it wouldn't be fair to him to have another book, which is quite an odd way of looking at things, and so on and so on. So, you realize after a while, I get the message. It's not going to happen. And which is sad because since writing Charlie's War, I know a hell of a lot more about the subject than I did back then. So I'm sort of itching to say more, which I will do in a different form. So,
do you think you'll self-publish it, Pat? You know, Space Warp style.
Well, it's I think the most likely one will be. Well, I mean, I've worked it out, so I've got to do it now. You know, once you pass that, I've got the structure of a novel. In other words, I've got all the scenes, all the sequences. I've done all the research. I can't back out now, so I've got to write it. You know.
So as a novel, not as a graphic novel.
No, it had to be a novel.
Right.
Because if it was a graphic novel, I mean, the challenge then obviously would be, you know, you probably have to do it as a Kickstarter. A lot of pressure on an artist. I mean, Dave Hitchcock did a good job, but I was very aware that he was, you know, what should we say? Money was really important to him, as it is to all of us. And so, you know, there's a limit to how many pages and designs I could ask him to do. So that's one of the problems. And of course, the other thing is, after Joe Cahoon, it's a hell of a hard act to follow. You know what I mean? We've all been thoroughly spoilt by the maestro of this kind of comic art. And there'll always be this feeling of it's not bad, but it's not Joe.
It's like whoever went on after Freddie Mercury at Live Aid. Do you know what I mean? It's like, how do you fucking follow that?
Follow this,
It's an awful
intimidating
place
as well,
to be, isn't it? And I think that applies to so many things in comics. Like I'll say on Judge Dredd, you know, you've got John Wagner, great writer. Now that I don't keep up with the latest Dredds, but for all I know, there could be a very talented Dredd writer now. But in my mind, it would be, well, he's not John. And that might be very unfair to the person concerned, which probably, again, it shows, I don't know, it shows my age and shows how I'm locked into a certain tradition, if you like. So.
Yeah, I get you, man. Yeah. Good.
Well, it's good to know. I mean, I'm very fascinated to see what this novel.
Yeah.
Like I say, once you've done so much work, you don't want to just leave it. I mean, there's probably file. I mean, when you research something like that, Pat, do you like? Yeah. Is there like notebooks that are stacked up? Is it all a Google Drive? You know, how do you work with things?
It's
like
a really shit computer filings. I use Apple Mail, so I have all these sub branches. And after a while, the sub branches have sub branches have sub branches.
Only you understand it. Only you understand it. Yeah.
It's that kind of nonsense. And so I get quite mesmerized looking at all these different ones. But eventually, you do pull it all together. And so what you do basically, you have, you know, chapter 1, so you've got all your notes there, and then you just do it bit by bit. But I think the thing that's going to drive me is the fact that you know, it is a subject I'm really passionate about, because particularly what the public is generally being told today, and certainly I imagine kids in school, they're told this bullshit version of World War I, that the generals actually knew what they were doing, and that they made mistakes, but they finally got it together. And that's the prevailing view now. Now, when I wrote Charlie's War back at whenever it was, end of the 70s, it was generally accepted that it was complete incompetence and they were butchers and so on, which is closer to the truth, but isn't actually the truth. The real truth, which is why I'm burning to write this novel and why I have to do it, is the war was deliberately prolonged for about 3.5 years. It should have been over by 1915, and they just prolonged it. And if you look at recent conflicts, you can see how they do it. In other words, all peace opportunities are avoided. And so when you think of all the people that died, all our forefathers from, say, 1915 onwards, it doesn't matter whether it was Germany who kicked it off or Britain. I mean, that's a separate debate. But it was definitely prolonged. And that's historically proven. So when you read documents that are actually saying this, it's quite scary to read. You think, why aren't the historians covering this?
Yeah.
And that's why
we've just come out of the centenary as well, haven't we? So I know that grounds your shit as well, Pat, listening to all these people sort of romanticize it. Yeah.
And it's just knowing that it was prolonged for so long. I mean, this might be a little bit of a, I don't know, an anecdote, but I think it's valid that the last day of the war, right? So you had, there would be, I'd never thought about this until it was pointed out in one of the sort of anti-war things I watched or read, that peace would be the 11th day, 11th hour, 11th month. Actually, it could have ended, let us say, 8 hours earlier. But because it went on to that date, and that was chosen for its symbolic nature. In other words, the idea of the 11th hour was already prevalent long before the Great War. It was a phrase, things, at the 11th hour, there'll be peace. And so you had thousands of young men who were killed or maimed, just so you could say, well, it ended at the 11th hour.
Just to run out.
No, it's not spooky. Thousands of young men died for some general's idiocy. And I mean, that's just one very trite example of how the war was prolonged. But not if you died on that final day, which so many did, or they were maimed or whatever. So it is a subject I get quite passionate about. So that's got to be good. That's got to drive me on the novel.
Yeah.
I hope so. Yeah.
That's great stuff, man. And you got two of your artists here, Cliff and Ian, are both here. Where's Cliff gone?
Hey, all right. Can you wave? I just see a sea of, hey.
Yeah, I think Cliff's got his camera off because he's in the car. I'm sure he says hello.
He's being chased by the police. That's probably why.
Yeah, he's not dogging.
He doesn't need you to say it. He can say it.
He asked me to say that. Legally bounding.
Yeah.
Right.
But speaking of the Substack, thank you for popping in to say hello, Pat. We really appreciate
please
it.
sign up to
cheers,
Pat's
Pat.
Substack. It was brilliant.
My pleasure.
Yeah,
but you must tell me what are your plans for the next 400?
Well, I know next week
Rehab.
we're recording. I know next week we're recording early because I think I'm having a beer with you in the evening, Pat. I believe that's the most planning we've done this week.
Yeah. This show, well, who knows where comics is going to go over the next few years. That's why
changed so much.
If comics was a fairly stale medium that just never did anything different, we'd have nothing to talk about. Nothing in terms of like what the industry's doing. There's always a million things we could talk about in terms of comics we like or processes. But it seems more and more recently we've talked about what's going on.
Where's it going?
Non-stop.
Tumultuous.
But hopefully,
anything in particular that's happening that I'm probably not aware of.
It's probably the sales thing. I think, Pat, is the big one we're worried about. Probably the sort
sales continuing to shrink. You mean?
Well, in some areas and not in all. YA and manga continues to grow, but the American comic model seems to be on the decline. I think that's kind of now well admitted, well recognised.
One of the
which
things
is a concern of ours.
The press, isn't it? The comic press. I don't think we've been served.
No.
They all seem to be shills, Pat. They're all taking a few quid.
I think there is a sea of amazing independent, like graphic novels, comics, whatever. There's lots of stuff that we're not hearing about because we're just hearing the echoes of everyone just shilling something that isn't really selling.
People who sponsor their site, for example, there's a few people who are. Gaz, for example. Gaz is here somewhere, isn't he? Yeah.
So it's interesting.
There's a lot of bullshit and there's a lot of declining sales. But at the same time, I've never really kept a note of it, but the number of sort of movies that I've seen over the last, couple of years or so, and you see it there in based on the graphic novel by so and so. Names I've never heard of, probably for the most part would be Americans, I suppose. So
I hope they got a good payday. I hope they got good payday.
Yeah, I hope they paid the writers. But Hitman's Holiday was fucking brilliant, Pat.
Axeman too.
Liked it, yeah.
Loved it, man. Loved it. Yeah.
I did too, and Tony, my co-writer, he had reservations about it. But what I said to him, and I still stand by this, is that it had so much passion in it. Scott was really, he'd made it into his own. It was no longer the comic book, but that's the kind of relevant thing that can come up so many times, whether it's Judge Dredd or Watchmen or Accident Man. But the thing was that he'd made it work. In other words, he was so passionate about it, and you could say, well, it's not as slick as the comic book, or certainly I think the accidents weren't as fiendish as my co-writer Tony, because Tony, it was a labor of love for him. He'd sit there thinking, oh yeah, well, if they did this to it, and then it'd be a delayed reaction, and then this light bulb would blow up, and then it would, there'd be a gas explosion and so on. Whereas by comparison on Hitman's Holiday, they were relatively slapstick. But I have to be realistic about it, because you probably know, or I may have mentioned to you, that a few years back, Dark Horse were going to do it. And I think they even got an American screenwriter to have a go at it.
Okay.
And they were skateboard accidents and banana skins kind of stuff.
Jesus.
So, I like the energy of Hitman's Holiday.
Definitely.
And it was more over the top than the comic book. The comic book had some level of, I don't know, reality after a fashion. But I just think Scott is so far behind it that he sold it to me. And I think maybe where you've got these other things like, say, Watchmen or Judge Dredd or whatever, if the leading man has that same charisma that, say, Scott has, and it's easy for me to say, maybe it can sometimes carry the day. You say, okay, well, it's not like Alan Moore's Watchmen, or it's not like John Wagner's Judge Dredd, but my God, it's really got power. And
I think he had you on side. You can tell there's a real energy in it, like you say. It's extremely watchable. That's what I think.
I watched it a couple of times, and okay, the accidents weren't that as ingenious, but you've got to be realistic on these things. And at the end of the day, the majority of that audience, because it's gone to Accident Man 2, there'll probably be an Accident Man 3. They're Scott martial arts fans, aren't they? They're the bulk of it, and it's no good. It's no good us feeling, well, what about our comic book? We are Accident Man comic book fans only represent, I don't know, let's guess, 20% of the audience, maybe even less. Scott has a huge following. And they love his martial arts. And I mean, this, you're in a better position to judge this than I am, Tony. I thought his martial arts are incredible.
He's great, man. I really do. I think he's absolutely classy. I mean, the fact that China employ him to play the villain,
that says
a lot, doesn't it?
I mean, he's awesomely fit, isn't he, to be throwing himself around like that?
Yeah, and he was very nice to us as well. Do you remember? He came on with a chat.
Lovely chat.
I had the biggest smile on my face when he came on and said, Mike Fallon here. That's great.
No, that's the other thing about it. He's a really nice guy. And I think all of us heard over the years, these horror stories about movie making. I mean, my God, there's a lot of them. Usually American, but there's a few British ones as well. So it's great to actually have someone. He's a genuine guy. And just as an example of this, one of the gripes, which applies to British comic creators and British movies, is getting residuals and back end and all that kind of stuff. He pays out on that area.
Oh, that's good.
Okay,
that's good news.
Whereas I think it's quite notorious in movies that what do they say? Net is net or something, where you get your initial money and then bugger off. And that's it.
Yeah.
It's the old Hollywood accounting.
So there's all exactly is that creative accounting. But no, we got payment out of nowhere for some obscure back end thing. And
nice.
You think that's really honourable.
That's great. Yeah.
So they're so effing rare in industry.
Well, I mean, in a lot of industries, I mean, some people complain that it's not necessarily in the comics industry either. But that's
yeah. No, I mean, I think maybe comics are probably not as bad as some other subjects for movies and so on. I don't know. I mean, are there any big comic book movies coming out, or is it all kind of? I mean, just the usual Marvel and DC stuff, I suppose. I mean, I'm not.
Yeah. Well, who knows about the 2000 AD studio? I don't know what's happening there. It was announced at the 40th.
Well, I think you've got your answer already. But you know what it's like if, and this applies to my stuff as much as anyone else's. If something doesn't happen after, what should we say, 2 or 3 years or 4 years at the outside, it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
And I think, sadly, I think that's probably what happened where. The Rebellion Studios are concerned. I don't know. I mean, I wish it were, but I mean, I got sort of warning signs. I've probably mentioned this before with Flesh, where they intended to do Flesh in-house. And, what I think I have been able to do is to make sense of it, to shed some light on it. And, it's wretched, but at least I understand it now. And it goes something like this. Rebellion look for a partner to put things together with. So if, for example, somebody said, hey, we want to do a character with you, one of your 2000 AD characters. So then you've got that hassle and that aggro about, who's the dominant partner and why and how and so on. And so that's an area of tension. And it isn't just the finances of it. You've got to be good at schmoozing to make that happen. And I say that because one person I worked with was brilliant at schmoozing. I mean, I was not in the same league as him. I've got too short a temper. But then the other thing they do is they say, well, we can't let Slain go to this person. Because it's too low budget, so it's not worth the effort. So you say, okay, well, what about a Slain big budget one? Well, we can't do that because then they want all the rights and they'd want to control the future comic destiny. So you can't win. There's maybe a midway point between low budget and high budget, which I think maybe applied to Judge Dredd. To the recent one, but otherwise it's like walking a tightrope, and I don't think it can actually happen because you lose either way. There was one guy who really wanted to do a Slain relatively low budget movie. He had brilliant contacts, they had great CV, all the rest of it, and they used him as a sort of foil to play off against another option, and I don't like that either. I don't think that's fair. No, you either want the guy or you don't, but don't use him as a way of trying to encourage someone else. So he was really encouraged, and when they pulled the plug on him, eventually he was quite angry. I don't think the big studios are going to go after something like Slain because they're largely American, so they still dream of Conan, don't they? There is a Conan coming out, isn't there?
I'm not sure.
They're working to do an Amazon series.
There's a Red Sonja coming out, isn't there? There's a Red Sonja. Yeah.
So I can't see it coming out of America. I suppose something might come out of Ireland, maybe, because Ireland's got that sort of whole film history, but it's another tricky one, you know.
Okay.
Cool.
So, Pat, where can we get your Substack? Because I'm always banging on about it. I think you put more out on there than anyone has ever written on the internet. It's well worth signing.
It's well worth a read, definitely.
Yeah, every day I get something. Yeah.
Well, that's down to Lisa, who's done a really good job on it. And for anyone who's thinking of about Substack for themselves, it's certainly worked for us.
Okay.
And I think that we followed the formula or the advice given by Substack, which is you have some free material and you have some behind a paywall. And we're pleased with it. So it's iconoblast .substack.com. And I'm going to do this novel on Substack as well. Probably start off with a couple of chapters.
Oh, okay. Good idea.
And of course, then I'm committed to it. But that's actually another thing. The guy who wrote the screenplay and was the creator of Fight Club. Chuck someone. Very well thought of. Yeah. Well, his latest novel, he's doing that way. So he puts it up. I assume he's going to put it up behind a paywall or something. And it's going to be quite fun, actually, weekly episodes, because it takes you back to that thing that I don't know about you guys, but I've missed, which is the weekly cliffhanger. If you can get a really good cliffhanger where you think, God, I can't wait to buy next week's comic.
It's like a pulp book. You know, it's like the end of every chapter in an Edgar Rice Burroughs book is a cliffhanger, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, because it was put out as a pulp. Yeah.
Was it originally in a magazine form?
Yeah, it was in. Yeah, it was in. I don't know the name of the magazine,
nearly everyone used to do. I mean, even the greats, you know, the literary giants like Dickens and Alexander Dumas, they all did things in magazine form. So to me, this is it's a great example to follow. So anyway, he's bringing out his latest novel. And it will be like a first draft in a way, and then when he does the final paper version, it will take into account what he says. It will take into account the readers' comments and second draft and so on. So it may even be a good thing in a way to kind of iron out some bumps in the story. So it's going to be exciting. But I like the idea of what's happening next week, and most of us, we read a graphic novel or something, and it's all there, isn't it? That's good stuff. There's is that Gorehead or Old One Eye?
Drew's drawn a dinosaur. You love dinosaurs, Drew, don't you? He's a big fan. Yeah, nice work. And I don't know if you noticed this, but Dave Kennedy has a picture of Vince as his background now.
I'm aware of the backgrounds that are going on the Zoom chat, and the names have been made note of. Vengeance will be swift, and when you least expect it.
Good stuff.
Yeah,
brilliant. Thanks, Pat, mate.
Cheers,
Appreciate you coming on. We really do appreciate it.
Yeah,
that's brilliant. Yeah, we didn't expect you to put in so much effort on it.
Much
Do you know what I mean?
appreciated.
We thought you just thanks so much.
I don't get out enough. I'm like, so many writers. The idea of socializing with you guys is really good. And I mean, you can get into that kind of I don't know, hermit-like existence of and where we live is quite a bit that way inclined, but it's a lovely village. But you can feel like a hermit sometimes, especially when the bars are closed and so on. So listen, I'll shoot off then if I may.
It's great seeing you, man.
Thanks for dropping in, Pat.
I'll send you. We'll message in the next couple of days and arrange the meet up and everything. But I'll see you next week.
And we will have you back for a proper Pat Mills episode
anytime,
very soon in the future.
That's really kind of you. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Pat.
See you later, Pat.
Bye. Bye.
how's that for a bit of a episode 400 present for you all?
Yeah.
Ain't that great?
That's all right, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've poured myself a fresh alcoholic beverage, although
Look at you. Or just weed in a glass.
He just looks a bit like piss.
I've had to minimise the window, so
the amount of piss you're drinking.
You four guys I can see, because the others I can't.
Yeah. There's other
mine's
things.
melting.
No, there's other things going on, right?
Yeah.
And as like obviously the host and one of the producers of this show, I'm watching you all.
This is so hard compared to just doing it with this audio.
Weird,
I
isn't
remember
it?
why we don't do it now. It's fucking murder.
Even with just the three of us, it got fucking uncontrollable. Yeah.
The best way to react to bullies is not to respond to them. So I'm just going to minimize.
But nice work, Dave.
Yeah.
So we're going to go on to
questions.
Yes.
Questions.
And everyone who decided to do a funny fucking background can't ask a question.
Who are we?
I'm only joking. Yes, we're now after that fun little chat about all kinds of things. I didn't think we'd be talking about the First World War when it came to episode 400, but here we are.
Yeah, that was good.
And it was amazing. So, and we'll put links in the show notes, etc. for Pat's
Substack. Oh, thanks to someone put the Substack link in the chat. Actually, so nice one.
The producer extraordinaire, I believe.
Oh, cool. Nice
one, Tom.
Yeah.
I never stop hustling, you know.
Yeah, he's our Roz. He's our Roz. So yes. So as it's episode 400, we're going to have some questions from the lovely listeners. So who's going to kick us off first?
Well,
Tom, who have we got? Who have we got on the line?
Are we going with a live one or?
On line one, we've got Simon Russell. Who's
Hey.
Question for us all.
Watch everybody.
Hello, Simon. Thanks for the comics, mate. Thanks for the 400
cheers,
present.
Simon.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Mine were addressed to my balls, which was nice. Yeah, thank you.
Pascal and
Brian.
How can you forget? What's wrong with you? Yeah.
You've seen him enough times.
All those evenings together.
They're always apart. Right.
Okay, yeah. The question was, in Aztec culture, way back when me and Tony were young, they didn't really have a number for infinity. 400 was the biggest number they had. And they used it, 400 drunken rabbits was a saying for anything where you went crazy, stupid. You were so drunk, you were as drunk as 400 drunken rabbits. So the question is, two parts. One, what's your favourite rabbit in comics? And two, what's your favourite drinking scene in comics?
Right, I'll lead off on this one because I thought of 4, possibly 5 rabbits, one being a sexy lady. So Usagi.
But hang on. The question is, who's your favourite rabbit? Tony?
Oh, it's got to be Usagi.
It's got the same for me.
Okay,
Usagi
let's take him off the.
Okay, well, which rabbit would I like to bone? Would be White Rabbit, the Spider-Man villain. S, yeah. Then you've got Captain Carrot. I probably wouldn't bone him. Although he does look like a big spoon.
Hang on, what do you mean,
Captain Carrot? Oh, that fucking
Which one's that? Oh no, I'm thinking of the flaming
Captain Carrot and the Zoo Crew.
Right.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. Jackson from Star Wars.
Yes.
Was he green? I read it in black and white. Was he green?
Yeah. Green.
And then the other one I could think of was Bucky O'Hare.
That was one I was thinking of.
Okay. It's got to be Usagi, easy, but
oh, there you go. Drew's got a Bucky O'Hare.
Yeah.
There you go.
Drew Hurd there with the Bucky O'Hare. Nice. I bet that's worth a few bob.
This has probably been mused upon before, but like when Wolverine's sitting around drinking and smoking, presumably because of the healing factor, he's getting zero fucking buzz off that.
It's got they've done a couple of scenes where he's had to like really go for it to get any kind of drunkenness.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, but that come on, that's really that's pushing the limits, isn't it?
You'd be doing a lot of
he
crack
can survive
and
a
stuff,
nuclear explosion, all that kind of nonsense, and what he can get himself drunk. I call bullshit.
I mean, unless you're getting into a bar and say, "Can I have a pint of pure ethanol?" I'm not sure many people would actually serve you either.
Yeah. I'd be doing crack and methamphetamine, all that sort of thing, wouldn't you?
What do you mean?
Don't do drugs.
He's not even Wolverine.
Yeah. Viagra.
I think we did that in school. Like we had to do you
did crack in
drugs?
school?
South London.
Let the story play out. The teacher got 8% alcohol out, to do an experiment, and they said, "Do not drink this, you will die." Because I know some of the fucking lads in our class would have
sticking it in their eyeballs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cheers,
Oh, look,
Simon.
Rich has stuck some samples never published Bucky O'Hare comic. There you go. Look at
Hey,
that.
there you go.
Nice.
Yeah, always
Well,
a good
someone
vlog
got
space.
that.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Is there any
Yeah.
other? Thing is, I can't think of too many famous comic rabbits.
No.
The only one I can think of, Sam and Max. Were they much in comics? I know they had the video game and stuff. Do you remember Sam and Max?
I
I
don't
think
know.
they were comics. I'm
They,
pretty
they,
sure
had,
they were
they had a
comics.
few
Yeah.
comics, didn't they?
Usagi, though, I got those
yeah,
prints through from Edison. Did you see?
Oh,
You
man,
get the
they look
Usagi
fucking
ones.
awesome.
Fucking great. Yeah. Edison Neo going places.
If
Yeah.
Dan Sakai ever kind of thought, right, I'm just going to write and Neo can draw. That's
Yeah. Space
Okay.
Usagi. That's what you should do. And then the second part of the question. What was the second part?
There was the
question about-
drunken scenes.
Oh yeah, well, my favourite drunken scene is when I think it's this. Is it the first or the second Hercules miniseries, the Bob Lane one, where he drinks Galactus under the table. He knows he can't fight him, so he drinks him under the table. But the best bit of it, Galactus takes his hat off, doesn't he? So you see sort of Galactus's normal face.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my favourite drinking one.
That's a hat, is it? Is that what you call it?
Well, whatever, a fucking tit for helmet.
yeah.
I don't know what it is.
A more recent one is the fucking one out of Airboy, where the
Yeah.
writer and the artist are getting absolutely slaughtered and they end up like DP in some.
Don't say. He got in the shit. We'll get in the shit too.
I just spat out my drink.
I thought he was going to say something.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's a good comic.
Give it a
That's a good
go.
comic.
Let's give one.
Yeah.
There's been so many probably examples in the Viz. I could. Dan's probably can remember loads. But
Well,
what's
Eight Aces, that's the entire shtick,
yeah,
isn't it?
Yeah. But I remember there was a lot of inebriation type scenes in. Is this Scumbag, Tony? Is that what it was called?
Yeah.
The Scumbag, yeah.
It's
The
always
Scumbag.
pissed in that, isn't it?
It's
Yeah.
always, yeah. And that was just sort of those sort
That's
of
a good comic. That sort of faded away, did it? I don't know.
Yeah,
what
I
happened
don't know
to
what
it.
happened to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did it get to 2 trades? I know that they did the first trade.
Yeah, I think it did. Yeah, I think
Okay, I
it
had to
did.
get that second trade because I've only got the first. That was great.
But that's just
Yeah,
straight
good.
up inebriation and then a bit of like a spy story underneath it. It's sort of mental story. Yeah.
And the other one I came up with is if you sort of take the last 100 comics of Zarabas, the chances are in one of them he's going to be pissed at a bar.
Yeah, pissed
There's a good chance that he'll be pissed up in a bar there.
Was that reflective of the author, what he was doing? Do you know, T?
I think he just gave him a chance just to sort of do these, just go off on one at a
fair
bar, I'm
enough.
guessing. Yeah.
Got a taste of that in that fucking Spawn read through.
Oh, you're doing your
Taste
Spawn?
things,
Yeah. Oh, Matt's
Taste
here.
things.
Matt made you do that,
Yeah,
didn't he? Matt is just right there. Yeah, he made you read Spawn.
which is both fun and also cruel at the same time. That was done. But thank you for the question, Simon.
Cheers, Simon.
Tom, who else have we got?
Oh, the phone's just going. We've got a call coming in from Mr. Ottaway.
Oh, on Jotaway.
On Jotaway? Go on, this would be good.
Yeah, it's no, it's on Jotaway. You don't know me. We've never met before. I'm just wondering if you've ever read a comic where the hero, and they can be heroes, sometimes it's a service, but the hero is a serial killer, and they manage to avoid the unnecessary attention of the police throughout. And perhaps there's tips on how they manage to do that. I'll take my answer off air. I have to return some videotapes. Thank you. Bye.
Okay.
On Jotaway is not. He's pulling a bit of a Pete Townsend here. It's just for research, isn't he?
Yeah.
That's what he's doing here.
I must say that. I mean, it seemed like a lovely decorated room, but it was covered in plastic for some reason. I don't know why. Well, certainly we spoke about them. As funny as the question is, I know he's asking for tips, but those sort of serial killer based comics. I mean, plastic, vinyl, and plush.
Next one's going to be on Jotaway. That's series 4. It's just
yeah, it's going to be like semi-autobiographical.
It's called. It's not. You got plush, and then you got the drive home from Thought Bubble. That's the next series.
But when it comes to sort of like those sort of comics where you're focusing on like basic evil people, serial killers, do you think in order to get a reader to sort of get on their side, I know that sounds like a crazy term, you just have to go properly over the top so it becomes almost over the top, like a parody or a satire, or the gore is just completely.
It does seem to be almost totally satire now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Apart from Red Room was a bit of satire as well, wasn't it?
If it's
Although
too
it's
it's too nihilistic, it sort of leaves you know, I think a lot of horror has a certain sense of humor, doesn't it? Like even
Gotta say, I'd had enough of Red Room after read that first trade. I was like,
it's a lot of ones, man, to read. I was reading it in issues, but I can imagine like 100
don't want
pages
to do
of
this
that
anymore.
Yeah.
Yes. To be fair, if you tell a straight story about a serial killer or some really nasty piece of work, and there's no humor in it, and there's no upside, and there's no catching it, would people want to read that? Because that's fucking.
Well, I think the best one of that is Durf's book, isn't it? What's that one?
My Friend Dharma.
My Friend Dharma. Yeah. Well, that doesn't really include the gory bits, does it?
No, there's a bit of sort of introspection and kind of like philosophical musing, I reckon, about the Dharma, which
but even like the did you hear what Eddie Gein done? That graphic novel, that, you know, that has, you don't see the you know, the crimes themselves, but there's certainly some, you know, Eric Powell's an amazing artist, so, you know, it's graphic.
Yeah, the attraction for both those books is the artist, man. Like you say, like Powell's a great artist, Durf's a great artist. That's why I buy them. To be fair, you know. But
there's nothing sort of, both of those books are not like, oh, I like this guy. That is, you do feel sort of shocked by it, don't you?
I know this is not the serial killer podcast.
We'd have bigger numbers.
Gein kind of gets a bit of a pass because he was just wired wrong. He just.
How do you mean he gets a pass?
Well, when you look at when they talk about other serial killers,
I made a sofa out of a few old ladies, but don't worry, I just found them.
He didn't seem to be kind of doing it for like jollies. It was just he didn't see any issue with moralizing, like cutting people up and doing that. Where other people like Gacy and stuff, they like got a fucking thrill out of killing people. And I could be massively fucking ignorant here, but
I can see on Jotaway on the screen, it looks like he's making notes. So just be careful what you say.
Plead insanity.
Yeah. Well, I suppose Dennis Nielsen did make them into a curry, didn't he, and took it into work. So I suppose there is a benefit from it.
Let's lighten the mood. Tom, who have we got next?
I've got a remote question coming from Harry Dean Wilmot.
Oh, okay.
If mainstream comics stopped making comics, would this be a benefit to small press indie comics and the comic scene in general?
I don't know. You know, I think the momentum that it gives is an issue, isn't it? I think we'd lose a lot of that.
Yeah, I think one thing that would have to change would be all these the comic book, and I say that in sort of parentheses. News sites would have to pivot into just being like media sites, which a lot of them are anyway. Because I can't see them just searching for comics anyway. Do you know what I mean? I think.
I'd like to think the rising tide raises all ships, but I fucking couldn't call it. I wouldn't know what's going to happen in the next couple of years because I couldn't call what happened in the last few.
Yeah, last. I mean, some of the strongest advertising for small press and independent comics has always been, no matter how much money you put into it, it's word of mouth. I think. I've bought more books because people I trust have said, "I think you'll really like this." Then I have looking at a website and clicking on it and stuff. And I think
the thing is a lot of small press people and indie people don't read mainstream comics.
Yeah,
how many guests have we had on from the sort of South London zine fair kind of crowd? All these sort of guys.
Just don't read
and
them.
you'd say, what do you think about what's happening in Spider-Man? They ain't got flipping Scooby Doo. In fact, it's no point asking them, is there?
Yeah.
So I don't know whether that world affects everyone. It affects some of us. I mean, we all read them.
But if that were if that were to hypothetically happen, it'd be interesting to see those people that are working within those mainstream systems.
What would they do?
What are they doing when they move into?
Yeah, I suppose the money, there would be a portion at least of the money would come to us. At least. Yeah, I suppose.
Well, do they because they're not working for the big boys anymore? Do they fall under small press now? And
you lot will be fighting for graphic design jobs. I'll tell you that now. Be more people like that. You're graphic designers. Yeah. It's a funny one, isn't it?
It's a tough one. I really don't feel qualified to answer. I couldn't fucking tell you. I've no idea.
Also for the 500. You have another crack at it.
Yeah. Let's return to that one. Keep that
100 episodes to percolate.
If they do essentially become IP farms, that's essentially what which would be a sad state of affairs if that happens. I don't.
Well, if someone said like they approached Marvel and said, right, I've got a fucking great idea for this comic. And then they pitched it to him and said, look, this is the art team. And then he did like a mini series or a trade. And it was just self-contained. You can read it and you're done. It doesn't like tie into a big continuity. That'd be great. Like I'd be fine with that rather than sort of like just series that just plod on forever and they don't really have a kind of an end goal.
I mean, we could do so much sort of like backseat quarterbacking of like what the big two, what we think they should do, but you just can't tell. You don't know what's going to happen. So, but it's going to be interesting no matter what.
So they moved to that model, and then Garth Ennis got together with Derek Roberts and said, "Look, I've got this pitch for the Punisher graphic novel for trade, whatever." And Martin said,
please let that happen.
Then they made it, and then they sold it as a book, like a bande dessinée, just on its own.
All I know is
people would be all over that.
Yeah, I'm not interested in Marvel anymore. I was.
You said that today to me, didn't you? You saying that?
Yeah, on WhatsApp. I'm just kind of done with it. I'm just kind of like, I don't need to read any more.
Well, this for those who didn't see, because we were having a conversation about. I just read the new Punisher one shot, and it was about him going to marriage guidance counselling and being told off by his wife and the marriage guidance counsellor. And I'm like, what the fuck is this shit?
What the fuck is that?
And I went off on one, and then Vince sort of doubled down on me going off. I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm going. I'm done with them. And so we had on those sort of conversations.
There may be a fascinating story to tell about that, but it's not a story you tell with a Punisher. It's just you don't know what you're doing, man. You're like, I don't know.
I'm just hoping that Wild Goose comes back to Marvel, and that's where it will be good. That's what I'm hoping for. Yeah, look at Wild Goose's background, using him as a model.
What's our next question?
What's the next question?
Why is it the people you love the most are the ones that hurt you?
I know you can take it, Vince.
Talking of people you love the most, we've got a question coming in hot from Zach Cobb.
Hey,
Zach. Hey, Zach. How you doing, man?
Hey, guys.
Zach.
Talk to us.
Congratulations on episode 400.
Cheers, dude.
Mate.
Very, very quick. You guys never failed to make me laugh. You also never failed to bring in such great topics. So my question for you guys, is there any particular genres or topics that you want to discuss as new? If not, are there any ones you want to revisit?
Thanks, mate. And carry on with the art, mate. You're one of our favourite. You're one of the most improved artists. Dude.
Yeah, man. You're growing and growing.
Yeah, really, really loving it, mate. I'm going to say...
Great question.
And a good question. And the obvious answer that you're all expecting is comics about sex. Isn't that right, guys? Yeah.
What?
No brainer.
On cruise ships with a certain woman.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll get into that fucking question later. I think. I mean, we kept threatening. I know. Tom were wanting it back for ages, like a genre month, and every time we sort of set up to do it, it sort of fell by the wayside. I think there's definitely, and because we've only had when it came to that, we only had a couple of episodes that really talked about certain genres. With some genres, you could have a whole podcast by itself talking about pulp comics or horror comics. I know the Halloween one, we kind of like take a stab at it every year for Halloween. The Halloween episodes and stuff. We could totally revisit a lot of things. Sometimes it comes down to just us not having the knowledge or having the confidence of having the knowledge to speak about it. For years, we wanted to talk about romance comics because obviously that was a huge. But there was like.
It's a tough one.
Don't want the three of us going, romance. Oh.
Yeah.
People to get too aroused.
Yeah, exactly.
But no fuck all about it. I think we tried to look up stuff, and
I know nothing about romance.
Certainly, we have tried to get some experts, but the scheduling just didn't work out. Things like that,
Rich is holding up a very British affair, which is the new British romance comic that's come out of Rebellion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And that's
nice one.
That might be a good one to talk about.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
Might have to
based on Rich's own life, actually.
Yeah. Might have to get him on just to talk about how romantic he is. So I don't know. I think most genres or topics I think there's a lot of things we could revisit. There's certain. I would say certain processes, maybe, gents, that you think what more can we say about this?
Yeah, I mean, one of my challenges was read war comics, and I think I need to go back into that because I
was really surprised that you hadn't read any.
I hadn't read loads. Yeah. There's a lot of. It was always the book that I sort of used to pick up last off the shelf in the newsagents. If there was a Sergeant Rock or something like that. Henderson, he broke me around that one when we read the Enemy Ace book on NIA, which has just fucking had me in fucking tears on sitting on a beach in Norfolk on the worst holiday of my life. And there's definitely some great war comics that I'm not aware. I haven't read yet, but I'm aware of. If you sent me,
I would like to maybe take that on and do war comics, but not from the kind of the Allied perspective. Like Onward to Our Noble Deaths. That was the first time I fucking seen it from that point of view, and I was like, holy fuck, that's as unreal.
I think there's potential for taking some topics and doing like a spin on it to see how good these mediums are. For instance, like martial arts comics. We love them. We love the fights and the violence, the glorious violence. But perhaps in the future there's an opportunity to get like an actual martial arts expert who isn't necessarily a comics fan. Get someone who knows what they're talking about. Get them to come onto the show. We give them 4 comics and just sort of say, read this. How does this represent the genre?
Martial arts, yeah.
Because certainly we always sort of mention to each other. We there's an upcoming one. Stephanie Phillips is a Muay Thai kickboxing book upcoming, a graphic novel that I sent on the WhatsApp, and I was like, oh, this seems quite interesting. But I'm always wondering about like proper martial arts comics. How well is it translated? How well is the?
It's going to be tough. As the same way as you watch a film, everything's got to be kind of showboating a bit. Otherwise, it's just not visually that interesting.
Exactly. It's the
same way boxing comics. Have you seen those? Then like everything's really like punches are really flying over the place because if they're really tight and sharp like they are in the ring, it'd be like it's kind of boring.
Yeah. One of the best couple of boxing comics I read was when Punisher went undercover. It was Eric Larson drew it. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that one.
Yeah. It was. He got the shit kicked out of him. Anyway, so yeah. Thanks for that. There's plenty more we could do those. Zach.
Yeah.
I think.
Thanks, Zach.
Tom, who else we got?
Next? We've got an up and coming artist. Christian Wildgoose has got a question for us.
Oh, don't worry about him.
Okay.
No.
Oh, sorry, I'll put it back.
No. Hello, Christian.
You're right, Vince. You did.
Great background.
Yeah. Hello. For anyone, for all our audio
look at Dave Kennedy's background.
Yeah. For all of
He's got a picture of a very muscly Dan. For those that can't see it.
Right. Okay. For all our audio listeners, and that's all of you. Yes, our lovely guests here have joined us, are having some real fun with their Zoom backgrounds.
I think Dave is your official background artist.
He is.
Yeah. The thing is, I don't know where you got that photo from. Anyway, what's that? What's your question?
What's your
Chris?
question?
Oh, right. So we're all familiar with your celebrity lookalikes. For example, Tony is often mistaken for a model,
Fat Russell Crowe
or Steven Seagal. But as we mark episode 400, and the years have aged you three like a vinegaring wine, how have your celebrity lookalikes changed?
I think I'm going to go full Orson Welles. I'm going to decline, man.
I'm Ian McKellen.
Yeah.
Like now. No.
I'm going to be doing whiskey and cigar adverts pissed out of my brain because Orson Welles.
Dan doesn't age. He's the podcast's Paul Rudd. That's what he is.
The portrait of Dan Butcher. It's.
Well, we were saying we got some Dickie Davises coming on. We get some greys, aren't we?
The old grey hair coming
in the old chocolate fountain that I call my hair. It's getting a few grey.
The chocolate waterfall.
The chocolate waterfall. Yeah.
The chocolate waterfall sounds like you got diarrhea.
On my head.
Grossest description of something.
Yeah.
Oi, you're meant to be my mate.
Still love that picture of the McDonald's man drinking the milkshake of Vince, and I use it whenever I get a chance.
He hates it, and I don't like it. And yet you still use it.
It does look like you. That's just
it does. Like just at one point it may have, but no. This is what he wanted. This is what Christian wanted. He wanted to come in here and he wanted to sow the seeds of distrust between us.
He's like a social hand grenade.
Look at him. Unbelievable.
Phil has just said that he's depositing your picture in the bank, Dan. That's nice of you, Phil. Thanks, mate.
Top work.
Phil, what's going on with your barnet, mate? You got a man bun on the go there.
Tony, stop talking. Look, we're doing it.
Audio. This is audio medium.
Sorry.
This isn't a drink and draw.
Sorry.
They're run more professionally.
What are you saying, Vince? You're giving us an answer. You're giving an answer.
I wasn't giving any fucking kind of answer. I've given up. Chris has broken me. I'm a broken man because of him, as always.
What are you working on at the moment, Chris?
Oh well, stuff.
Good. Oh, you can't say. Can you say?
Important words from Chris Wildgoose
I
as
can,
always.
Yeah. But it's just that I'm not prepared to talk about it. So
Fair enough.
I've got to get my pitch brain on. But it's
Okay,
a
all right.
series called The Hunger and the Dust, which is coming out.
Oh, I can't wait for that.
Yeah, it's gonna be good, man. Yeah.
I'm
And
sure.
who's the writer on that?
G. Willow Wilson.
Well, they're
Okay.
going.
Oh, okay.
Well, at least we know 50% is going to be good work, isn't it?
Yeah.
We'll
Not
get
yours.
you on, man. We'll get you on when it's coming up to go
Yeah,
out.
let's talk about that.
Yeah, love that.
I'd love to. Yeah.
Thanks, babes.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't tell you. Do you want to know what my opinions on your celebrity lookalikes?
Yes, we would love to hear
Yes,
that. Yeah,
please,
yeah.
please
Yeah,
do.
go on.
Here we go.
So, I sent this to Tony recently, but I don't know if everyone's been watching the Willow series recently. But Willow himself, when he's got a goatee in his flashback scenes, looks a lot like Tony. So that was my first one.
Googling this.
This looks like Judge Gerald Biggleswade from Paddington 2. And I wrote Dennis
know
Street,
that
who
is.
hasn't actually changed because he still looks like that gasping kid that somebody suggested years ago. I forget. I don't know. You had
Was it that kid in
profile.
Doctor Who, Dan, that you look like? Do you remember?
Yeah.
It's Doctor Who.
Yeah. This
Yeah.
kind of kid is kind of like with a scared expression.
Yeah.
I came out fucking worst on that.
Hang on, who was I again?
You were that judge of Paddington
Judge
2, the one he's always
Gerald
getting into.
Biggleswade.
Is he the one who gets his hair cut by Paddington and all that?
It's Tony Conti.
Tony Conti.
Yeah. Oh, fucking, I don't look like that.
Oh yeah.
Oh, wankers.
I'm gonna put that picture in the chat.
I'm
I know.
It's in there. It's in there. Oh, yeah.
You can mute
yeah.
me now if you want.
Thanks, Chris. Lovely to see you.
I've done my damage.
Nice one.
Who's next, Tom?
Well, we've got. I don't think Pete Dorr is here today, unfortunately.
No.
So I'll ask a question for him.
Okay.
I've got one. I mean, Dice asked, and this is my chance. No joking, and certainly no offense meant. But does Tony genuinely like Joe McDonald, or is it a gag? I'm really not sure, and it's driving me nuts not knowing.
Pete, I don't know what's up with Pete, honestly. I think he might be having a moment because he's about my age, and maybe it's getting to him. But what isn't there to like about Wakefield's #1 light entertainment star? I don't understand what he can possibly be getting at there.
Of all the questions we got in this one was a real puzzle. I didn't.
This is like I don't
Yeah.
understand it. I don't understand
Yeah.
it. Like, real.
Yeah.
It's. I mean,
talking foreign language.
I've never questioned your feelings, Tony. I mean, I think.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think
What's the question?
One day we will be together.
well,
Not you and me. Well, me and you, Vince.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, yeah,
Do you know what I mean? But
yeah.
I say maybe in a courtroom scenario, Tony.
Yeah,
But-
there may be. Maybe. If that,
Maybe
if that-
just handcuffed by police screaming her name outside her
yeah,
house.
if that tree
Yeah.
branch gives way, you're in trouble.
Especially with the stuff I've done on that. Yeah. Anyway.
Jesus. It's got like a sheen to it.
Oh my
A
god!
greased pole.
I've polished it heavily. I've
So
polished
someone's
that.
fucking-
We're going into
What are you doing up there on that branch?
I'm
Polishing
just
it?
creosoting it.
yeah. It's 8, and we're going into that
gone.
territory.
Yeah, here we
Going
go.
in there.
Here we go.
The train's going in the tunnel.
Here we go.
Tom, who's
Right.
next?
Well, next we've got Matt Strott.
Hey,
Hey.
Hey, Matt.
over from the States,
Hey
international
guys,
guest.
good to see
Hello, Matt.
everybody.
Yeah.
See everybody. It was nice to see my boy John Late. I haven't
Oh,
seen
yeah,
him
where's
in
Late you
a
gone?
couple
Hey.
of years. He was here earlier. Anyway, you guys are always so positive about comics. While you might have some rants, you don't have any real hot takes. So I want to know, what's your biggest hot takes on comics, a comics creator, or a comics IP?
That's a hand grenade, isn't it? How long you got?
I've been doing the amount of times I've stopped posting something because I thought this is just me dropping a hot take and I'm not that guy. I can't be that guy. Although I did see something, it's not so much a hot take. But earlier I posted something that this is how I feel personally, but parallel universes, multiverses, and time travel can fuck off. I'm done with it. I'm done with it in comics.
Yeah.
I just sort of like, I had my parallel universe. Yes, Age of Apocalypse is. I've got that's a treasured memory for me, and I know that's like an alternate timeline. Yes, but anything that happens now, I don't care about. I think it's most of the time these days. It's oh my god, I'm starting to rant. Thank you, Matt. Most of the time travel, certainly I over the past couple of decades for me, has been a big example most of the time, not all the time, but it can be very lazy storytelling if it's not done right. I think, certainly, I mean, just talking about the movies, I was halfway through Endgame and I was like, oh, all right.
Yeah,
okay.
it was a bit
that was
time travel.
It just completely switched me off. Like, and that's probably why my Marvel movie sort of like thoughts haven't really recovered from it, because I'm like, oh, it's that, is it? Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah.
That's my hot take personally. I mean, there's, I think
Go on, T.
All I'm going to say is, Matt, you and I are having dinner in September with Q. So prepare yourself, man, because it's good.
Right.
It's going to, yeah. We'll put the world to rights there.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say 3 very quickly. Twitter is not comics.
Yeah.
Know about the medium before you claim to be a fucking expert.
Yeah.
Mostly applied to writers, and people don't want reviews anymore. They just want promotion. They're my 3 hot takes. There you go.
Nice one.
Done.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel.
Man, you covered a lot of bases. I think we touched on it briefly with the fucking the Punisher stuff, which really, I don't know. I've gone from like you, Vince. So I was really bothered by it, and now I've just gone to apathy.
That's the worst part, isn't it?
The worst
when you
part.
Don't care at all, you just suddenly.
Don't care.
And I think there's part of you, because as comics readers, as fans, we're just passionate about the medium, aren't we? We're passionate about these stories, and when it gets to a point where you're just like, I don't care about this anymore. You're past the point of being like, can you believe they did this? You're now just sort of like,
just shrug your shoulders, whatever, man.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I think it speaks volumes, doesn't it? Really. And I think that is the death knell that people talk about in comics. It's when people just stop caring and just walk away from it. I think
more MCU related, but like when they introducing the new characters now in the MCU, rather than the reason you're kind of on board with like Captain America and Iron Man, they got the whole film about them coming up and learning the ropes and failing and getting better, and now you just introduce the characters and go that they're the greatest at whatever they're fucking doing, and you just don't care. You just there's no kind of interest in them. Like they set all that time up with the Riri Williams, and then no one's interested. No one's talking about it. And it's just they seem to be kind of learning the wrong lessons, and I kind of the way that they're doing more legacy characters nowadays just don't find it appealing, because it always comes at the shitting on the one before. So Tony Stark was good, yeah, but I'm fucking way better. So okay, if that's what you want to do, it's kind of like that thing of when they got to introduce a new badass race in Star Trek. The first thing they do is fuck Worf over. Worf gets his ass kicked. You know what I mean? So like, oh yeah, these guys are really bad.
Yeah,
and it's just afterwards. So whatever.
I think there's a real sort of sense of less is more as well. I think with because they're just trying to make money. So you get these characters and they're just so many issues, so many spin-offs, so many variations of this of a Deadpool, of a Harley Quinn, of all this. It's just
I think it's a lack of a long eye.
Yeah.
Lack of like really long eye of planning. So as soon as they start something, it's going to last 10 issues, and it's going to be fucking changed. But there's no real sort of long, like this whole sort of nonsense with Punisher that's going on at the moment. We know he's going to die in another 4 issues. He's going to be dead.
Okay, here's a hot take. Okay, right. Here's a hot take. In comics, the phrase "and the universe will never be the same again" is irrelevant. It doesn't mean anything anymore. Yeah. It doesn't mean anything, because give it a couple of months.
I've been laughing at fucking adjectives today. So I've noticed 2 different writers who fucking are definitely not be described as powerhouse writers, and I've gone, what? I've seen twice today as well art referred to as stunning cover art, and I'm like, what? Everything is like this. There's got to be this extreme fucking so amazing, and most of it ain't.
No.
Yeah. You got us on the wrong one there, Matt. Sorry.
Go on. Chris wound us up and then fucking Matt just set us off. That's what it is.
The next question is going to be, I shagged your mum. And it's just going to explode.
Keep up the good work, Matt.
Matt. Yeah, lovely to hear.
I was really impressed with you making the time in the day to kind of get up and do your comics. That's the way to do it, man.
Yeah, it's at work. Yeah, good stuff, man. Good.
Well, of course, now we, been on this high, now we need to start to come down on this roller coaster. So, Al Henson, do you want to come with your question?
Let's keep the interaction going with the. You've all spun off and either established or appeared on other podcasts. So, how do you decide what material goes to which? And have you ever wished that you'd kept a topic back for ACP?
No, not really. I think because NIA is very different, as you well know, because it's more the sort of history of stuff. Have we ever done anything?
I don't think there's ever been any podcast that we've all sort of appeared on or talked about that would have been an episode of this. I think we all had fun appearing on other sort of shows.
Well, this occasion we've done deep dives on books. Like we've just had one book and we've all gone in on it. That's an interesting one. Most of the time I appear on podcasts, other podcasts, is to fucking shill some of my own shit.
Yeah.
So
Dan's a hoa.
That's it. I spoke about martial law a couple of times. Went on Eamon's 2081.
Yeah. Go on, Tony.
Yeah, so we had that. Something funny. Just literally, I was about to talk about Al Ewing, and Drew's just written in the chat about it. But we had Al on, and we did that Desert Island Comics, which I like to have thought we would have done more of. But then we got, is it Sam's podcast is kind of that, isn't it?
Oh, Comics for the Apocalypse, yeah.
So we've sort of not done that now, but not like through any sort of discussion, just because someone sort of filled that space. It wasn't like, oh, we've nicked our idea or we can't do that now. It's just like someone else is doing it, so we'll do something else. You know, there's a bit of that going on, I think.
I think one of the core tenets is always trying to bring the focus on people creating small press stuff and trying to highlight that and bring it to the fore, because what other way is there? I mean, we can always share our own stuff, but
I always want to discover, like, you know, something that I've never heard of before, a creator I've never, that's, you know, not part of the mainstream, but just a creator just putting something out and then discovering. I mean, that's how we got to know a lot of people we've had on the show, a lot of people who are here tonight watching us. You know, it's because we didn't know about this work. We went and sought it out, and then.
And we tend to avoid or not book guests who are on other shows a lot. So, and I think it's a fairly known rule we have now that we won't generally invite people on if they've got a Kickstarter on, because all they do is come on.
Sometimes it's lined up a little bit, hasn't it, like that?
Sometimes it has, It's just more coincidence, I'd say, these days. We used to do it, but these people would come on, just talk about their Kickstarter, talk about themselves a lot. There's a lot of that going on, to be fair, and then leave again. And we tend to much more, I think I put it on the Twitter this week, that say that we enjoy people who come on, talk about their craft, talk about themselves, but also ask about us. You know, and some of our best people, you got, I mean, look, just talking about Pat there, saying, you know, what did you think? And Mark Millar was the prime example of that, wasn't he, Dan? When we had him, he talked to us, and then he said, right, can you stop recording now? Because I want to fucking chat to you boys about the scene. Yeah. You know,
kind of a few.
Yeah, so we prefer that. We don't like people who are just like full on promotion. And I avoid people who will reply to, we had it today, will reply to one of our very, you know, oh, we were recording the 400 live tonight, and then someone will go, oh, 400 episodes, you still haven't had us on. I'm like, oh, fuck off. You know, I don't care.
We don't keep a big long list of people we are going to invite and have invited on. It's no.
Sometimes we don't know we're inviting until like the Friday. Sometimes, do we?
Yeah.
You know.
Yes.
Yeah. Don't show me. Don't let me
know. We're well planned here. It's all planned.
Yeah. We're all booked up 6 months in advance. That way you cut it off. You won't.
Yeah. Oh, we haven't got any spaces at the moment. Yeah. Then we interview the cleaner on Sunday.
Yeah.
I think when we did the manga march, was it last year?
Yeah.
Like NI was also like a sister show in as much.
Yeah.
We were
sort of diving a book that you were sort of, we were talking more generally of the situation. Yeah.
And then we were kind of like flipping from genres in manga. Oh my god, there's so much more to fucking talk about.
I think if there was going to be anything that was cross pollination, we'd discuss it before.
Yeah. The thing is we are an utter democracy in regards to who we do and who we have on and what we do. We do a lot of people as well, to be fair. We're busy boys, but Good.
But thank you for that question.
Thanks, Al.
Cheers, Al.
It was a pleasure, baby cakes.
Tom, who we got?
Well, we've got someone else with another fantastic background. We've got Phil McFarlane.
Phil, he's pretending not to. Oh, here we go.
It's looking really casual.
Oh, sorry. Hi. Am I on? I was busy reading. How's it going?
Awesome background.
Thank you very much. A lot less. More diplomatic.
A lot more. Controversial than other choices that people have made.
Now, for those that don't know, Phil is also known as Ludology, who loves to troll us.
Yeah.
I find it hilarious.
I love it.
Occasionally, I do get a text from another member of the podcast going, "What is he saying now?" And it just makes me laugh. But what's your question, Phil?
Yeah, so I remember you've talked about you started out as like acquaintances, basically. So now I would imagine you're solid. So I'm just wondering, is your friendship as solid as it's ever been? Has it ever wavered? And if I can have a second question, if you had to...
No, you didn't submit on the thing, man. There's a form for a reason.
Go on.
Oh, Tom's got power mad. Phil, we're making the decision now. What's your second question?
If you had to put someone out, who would it be?
Oh, you wanker.
Oh, you fucking... I'll tell you who we're booting out. Phil, mute. No, Tom, mute Phil. Mute it.
Yeah, we've always been fairly solid, haven't we? We've never had a falling out, have we?
No.
We would tell you. I think we never have had an argument. I don't think.
No.
Usually, if the phone rings midweek and it's Vince or Tony, I've known something's fucking going down. There's been a couple of times where like, fuck, we've got to talk about this because it's like.
We had an email once from someone we told off for chatting up women at conventions. That was one of them. Yeah. And then the main phone call we had was like me ringing you two, and you went, "Oh, he's breaking radio silence," because I said, "Scott Adkins, come on, what are we going to do? What are we going to do?" Do you remember?
We also had one where you were making jokes about going around to someone's house after buying something on eBay and being sexually assaulted. And the listener wasn't very happy, and we did a phone call about that, sort of saying,
"Well, perhaps they haven't seen me because I'm quite a catch."
Yeah. So
yeah, good. No, but to answer your question, Phil, no, we've always been fairly solid. I don't think we're the same now as we ever were, really. I mean, to be fair, we're stronger now because we didn't really know each other when we started this properly, did we? Now we've all been to each other's houses.
I met Tony in a coffee shop for 30 minutes.
Yeah, the day before.
Had sex twice.
Yeah.
Same with you, Vince. I think I only interacted with you over Twitter, and then before we
the first time we ever met, wasn't that a convention?
Down the one down.
It was Melksham.
God,
you came to
Melksham.
Yeah, we drove down, didn't we? Yeah.
That's the first time beast of a drive.
The first time we ever met Vince was at the top of the escalator at the British Library.
Yeah.
I went up there the other day. Me and Eamon went for coffee up there, and I said, "Oh, this is where I met Vince."
That was the meet cute. Yeah, and that was before the show, wasn't it, Tony?
Yeah, and then I'd met you at a couple of conventions, didn't I? Because I'd reviewed Red Mask.
Yeah.
And
in answer to your second question, Phil, both of them, I kicked both of them off.
Thanks, Phil. Yeah. Thomas?
Tom, how are we looking?
I'm looking great as always, but I'm struggling to... bit of a communication thing. I haven't found the next person, so I'll bring one in from someone who can make it today. Would you rather go walking with Christopher Walken or on a cruise with Tom Cruise?
Oh, I'm walking with Walken all day.
You don't want to go on a boat with Christopher Walken, do you? Not happened last time.
Why? What happened to Christopher Walken on a boat?
Isn't that when Natalie Wood fell overboard?
I don't know about this.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah.
Why'd you bring that up? Why'd you really lower the tone?
I'm just because I got the knowledge, my friend. Knowledge is power. That's how it works.
It also wasn't one of the options. There's a cruise of cruise and walking with walking.
Yeah.
I've never been on a cruise. I'm too young.
I would go cruise with Tom Cruise.
Would you go cruising with Tom Cruise?
I mean, Tom Cruise is more likely to buy all your meals for you, isn't he?
I mean, we're going to get on a walk.
Well, perhaps me and Christopher Walken pop into a Greg's.
He'd be tap dancing and shit, wouldn't he? We got a dance out of him. He finally did a fucking dance. Finally.
Oh, no one can see it.
Oh, no. I'm aroused.
And with that, we've actually got the next person ready to go.
Okay.
John, would you like to ask your question?
Hello.
Hi, John.
Hey, John.
Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, man. Here he is.
Hey, there he is.
Hello.
We met you at the Thought Bubble, didn't we, John? I remember now.
That's right.
Yeah.
You
gave me lots of comics to take away.
Yes.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah. Congratulations on the 400 run.
Thank you, mate.
Cheers, man.
That's a very impressive run.
Thank you.
So my question is on the non-fiction side about biographies in comics. So which person, living or dead, would you like to be the subject of a graphic novel biography?
Ooh.
and why would their story particularly suit the comics medium?
Yeah, I've got a quick one for this, an easy one for me. Is you should sign up to Mr. Phelps' Patreon because he's doing a Lou Reed comic.
There you go.
And I think his style, because he's got that sort of wacky psyche style, I think it would really suit it. And from the little of it I've seen, it looks fucking great. And I'm a massive Lou Reed fan. He's really nailed that sort of death-like face. You know, he looks like he's dead, doesn't he, most of the time, Lou Reed, even before he was dead. But he sort of nails it in that. And it's brilliant. It looks really good. So that would be my one.
That's a good one.
I think, I don't know. That's a really good question. I think from the music side of things, there's so many people that you could pick, isn't it, really? Any singers, songwriters, or anything like that. But if I was to, I'd probably be quite interested in some old Hollywood type.
Okay.
There's that Bela Lugosi one's just come out, isn't it? It's meant to be good.
I'm looking at it. You know, maybe the thing about it is sometimes I want to read about these people, but they may not be that. You know, not every story is going to be an Oliver Reed story, is it?
No.
I mean, but I want to read about these people. For instance, like I could, you know, Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing, or I think James Stewart would be quite interesting. Like there's some old sort of like classic actors who are doing some major films. You know, I'm not aware of anything particularly. Sometimes it's the sensationalism that people like reading about, isn't it? Rather than just someone having a good life.
Like a comic on Klaus Kinski or something like that.
Oh my god!
You know, so, imagine.
Yeah. I've got two. One's a historical event which I come across about 6 months to a year ago, and I was like, "This fucking story is awesome," and it's an Austrian. It's set in World War II, an Austrian castle, and the German army and the Allies, for the one and only time, they team up to take out this castle which is held by the SS and holding like French politicians that, if killed, would kind of fuck up the political landscape of France going forward. And you read the story and it's fucking fascinating. Where Pat might have a more nuanced take about the horrors of war, I would just play it as a straight fucking action, people getting blown up, guns, etc. But still kind of the nod to kind of the realism of it. But if I was going to go to like a proper biography, I think I meant to mention this before, but there's a chap called Masomya, who is the father of Kyokushinkai karate. And if you read his fucking life, it's nuts. He goes through so much. Like he's essentially Korean, wanted to get in with the Japanese and signed up. Some of the highlights wanted to sign up for being the kamikaze pilot. And some of his friends got chosen, and he said, in the evening I came back and they weren't there in their chairs. He never got chosen for it. So what he would do was go around and start fighting American military police, and generally got his ass kicked. So he ends up going into the mountains for, I think it's like a year and a half, and just practicing karate. And he goes up there, one student, and then the student kind of says, I ain't doing this anymore. But Mass sticks it out, and he comes back down and gets into all manner of scrapes and fights. Really interesting bloke. He, in Kyokushinkai karate, when you get to a certain rank, you do a 100-man fight where you got to fight 100 people in a day. It's Kyokushinkai is really heavy on conditioning. So in the fights that you have, it's full blows to the body anywhere except for the face. You can't punch in the face, but you can kick to the face. So when you're going up against 100 people one after the other, it's absolutely fucking grueling. And
so if that was I just want to clarify this. If that was happening, Dan, are you confident that you could beat off 100 men?
I ain't falling for that trap.
I've seen a movie a bit like that. I've seen a movie but it's not fighting.
All right. One thing this fucking Masomya, like, to prove like, oh, I'm pretty good at this, he did 3 days, 100 fights for 3 days consecutive.
Fucking hell.
He's the guy that fucking kills balls with a single strike. And
he's
some of this
still
stuff
an all-star. Is that what you're saying?
Some of this stuff is like, did this really happen? But he only died in 94, age 71. So it's within our kind of lifetime. So
you're looking for a project after Vanguard, aren't you? There you go.
Yeah, man, I don't think I could do that justice. It's what a dude. So yeah, that's that question.
What a dude!
What a dude!
A wonderful
that's
way
the title.
to finish
That's the title of the book for you. Yeah, you started already.
What Matt told me? What a dude!
And talking of dudes, let's move on to another dude for our next.
Nice work, Tom.
Let's piss off the entire Kyokushinkai karate worldwide. See what happens.
Talking of the World Organization, let's bring on someone else who's done that. Matthew Bruce, what's your question?
My question is, yes. And the premise of this is that all comics pages, original art ever, is available. And then there is some sort of disaster and only one panel from one page of original art could be saved.
Oh.
Which panel would you save?
Yeah, I've got this is easy. This immediately came to mind for me. So Defenders 89, issue 89, there's a panel which has got the Hulk sitting there eating a big bowl of beans, and the Hulk says, "Hulk loves beans." And Kyle Richmond, Nighthawk, says, "Yeah, you've told us that already." And I just want that single panel. That's all I want in my life. Just the Hulk likes beans.
So you could get a rate. You could really work your way around this and just sort of say it's a splash page.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that.
That's a good one. What about you guys?
My one.
Yeah, what's yours, Dan? No, you go.
My one's classic. It's the This Man, This Monster with a thing. Fantastic Four issue 51. Where he's standing there in the rain. It's fucking great.
Yeah, I love that page.
That's what I'd go for.
That's an answer for something else by me. Yeah, that's so good.
And for me, probably I've spoken about it many times, but it's an Alan Davis panel. One of the ones from the classic Wolverine Sabretooth fight during the I think it was the Mutant Massacre, wasn't it? I think during that sort of time when they had their big rumble in the mansion. And there's a page where there's four sort of equal panels sort of stacked on it. It's just like segments of the fight one by one. And I'd probably say the first one is just, I'm looking at it now actually. The first one is just like head to head. And it's just one of the most intense panels ever. You know, everything in that.
You bought that at the March, remember? When we were at the March?
Yeah. That particular because I just wanted that individual issue.
Yeah,
I was a bit annoyed when I paid £7 for the issue, and then 5 minutes later I saw the entire collection for £7. I was a little bit annoyed.
Yeah, but it's the issue. You got to have the issue.
It's the issue. The issue was what I wanted, but yeah, love that issue.
Fucking hell, what's going on now? Don't look at the chat.
Don't look at the chat. So you brought me on. This is. So, talking of issues, Dave Hingley, who can obviously be here today, we live in a switched-on 24/7 society where demand can be met almost instantly. There's a huge rise in digital distribution and consumption of all forms of entertainment from all over the planet. At the same time, we see advent of new technologies like NFTs and AI art, combined with social media that gives people a platform to campaign against and raise awareness of a wide variety of issues plaguing the planet. With this in mind, is it acceptable to have carpet in the toilet?
No. No.
No.
I had a flat once where there was carpet in the bathroom and it went up the side of the bath.
Fucking hell!
You can't live like that.
No.
You have to have a sit down wee at night if you've got carpet in your bathroom.
Yes. All manner of wrongness. So just a flat out no.
Just goes everywhere, doesn't it?
I do like a sit down wee though.
Makes you feel powerful, doesn't it?
Yeah.
No comment.
Good. Thank you, Dave.
But hang on. What about the little carpets that sit around the bottom of the loo?
That's acceptable. Yeah, that's acceptable.
Yeah, okay.
Like bath mat kind of thing. Yeah, that's acceptable.
Yeah. I just wanted to, you know, devil's advocate.
The wife can wash that.
You can pebble dash that and then wash it out.
I wanted to give that a good second of Dan being left on his own.
I just wanted, thanks, because I wanted that to land. Just to kind of.
Wife.
Yeah.
Your missus will kill you. Honestly,
if she ever listens,
he does
to
that
show,
all the time.
Yeah, he's like, he says something. He's like,
it's the best joke ever.
It's almost as good as your Smash the Patriarchy sign you got as well. Yeah.
In a minute, he'll just be like,
that's the one. Look.
Dan B has left the chat. That's what we'll just see in a minute.
Fuck off, macho bullshit. Why the fuck macho bullshit forever?
Yeah.
I have to kind of move the camera around so the work doesn't see that.
Yeah. So, Tom, we've got time for a couple more before we move on to the next round. What have we got next?
We've got Jordan from Zoop. Sorry I can't be there to live celebrate with you, but my question is, what secrets make it to 400 episodes? Quite an impressive feat. Probably didn't mean quite so sarcastically, but it's quarter to 9 and I'm tired.
Oh dear.
I'm going to say democracy we've already mentioned.
Yeah.
We all come up with ideas. genuinely, and all listen to each other about them. Humour, friendship, and we're supportive of each other. But the main one, I think, is we avoid the fucking dramas that are going on.
Yeah.
That's what keeps us going.
I mean, at the end of the day, life is too short, and like that, which is why we don't pay attention to all this bullshit anyway. If this became a chore or wasn't fun for any one of us, then we wouldn't do it.
Yeah,
we laugh. We literally cheers us up.
So
Sunday nights. I think Pete Dory said this to me once. He said Sunday nights are the worst possible fucking time ever. You're just bored going back to work. Oh, I've got work in the morning. We do this instead every Sunday night. You know,
there's times I've come on just being like, oh fucking hell, and then every 5 minutes I'm laughing and it's great. And
I think it's become, because we've done it. We have that. It's routine, isn't it? They say the importance of things is routine, which is why the episode's coming out on Monday. We've stuck to that as much as we can, but also as much as we can the Sunday night sort of recording that we do.
Yeah.
Yes. See, people, I don't really do that much editing. It's Sunday night and then it's out Monday lunchtime.
People are surprised by that. We have guests go, "Oh bloody hell, that's a quick turnaround."
Yeah.
Don't they? They can't believe it. Yeah.
I'm not sure. Some podcasts like keep them for a couple of weeks and then drop it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, because you kind of lose the momentum on it.
I think when that started as well, it's just sort of like we're just so excited about it. We just want to get the episodes out.
Get it out.
Yeah. And I think when it first started as well, I used to actually listen back to a few bits because I thought, oh fuck me, what did I say last night?
Yeah. I can never remember anything.
So. Yeah. But mostly because I knew I'd said something terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it is just having a, and we've seen obviously some of our friends and stuff started podcasts and they can't. It eventually sort of goes away or whatever, which is because life is life. You know, sometimes you don't have time.
Happens.
You don't have time for this, or like your schedule's off whack, or maybe it's health or whatever. But yeah, with us, we keep it simple as well. Keep it very simple. We're always looking for we figured out the format, thinking of new topics. The hardest thing sometimes is finding sometimes, especially with me and Dan, finding a book to talk about in the recommends. If you don't get a chance to read anything that week.
Tony's way better read than both of us.
Yeah, he spends far too much money on absolutely.
Oh, do tell me, man.
Yeah.
The other thing, I think we have had, very rarely, we've had the odd guest on who's been a bit unkind about somebody, and we've actually cut that out. But we always make the point of telling them we're cutting it out.
Yeah,
which I think is important as well.
It's one of those, you can kind of, after you've been talking for half hour, 45 minutes, whatever, sometimes your guard drops and you'd be a bit more candid than you should have been. And you start saying, oh, my boss at fucking Marvel's I nearly said the C word there. But I stopped myself.
Well done, Dan. You're a fully grown man who knows how to control himself.
He's not.
But so you kind of say, oh, we're going to take that out because don't be wearing that.
Yeah.
Good.
So.
We got one more.
Yeah, we got one more. Tom?
So one more question. It's a really good question, but I've been trying to get hold of Johnny, but I can't. He's not picking up the phone, so I'm just going to ask it. Oh, there you go. See, Johnny Cannon. There you go.
Yeah, Cannon.
Hello.
There you go.
Hello. Goodbye. Right, okay.
There you go. You're unmuted, Johnny. You good, man?
Johnny.
Hi, sorry about that. I was distracted momentarily.
He sent me a video of a cat eating something earlier, didn't you, John?
It's not my cat. It keeps on coming in my house, and it was eating meatballs, chopped up meatballs. But it was eating them by chewing them and then spitting them in the floor and then eating them again, which was strange.
I think we've got to the bottom of why it keeps coming in your house.
Yeah.
You keep giving meatballs.
So because you keep videoing it.
What's happening?
I don't know.
Well, Johnny John had a really good question. I've just sent him in the chat so he remembers what it was.
I need to read it because I can't remember what it was. Was
That's
it?
right.
No,
Send it to you now.
I think. No, right, okay. No, I think I know what it was. So when you close your eyes, what's the comic that you can see most clearly from your formative years?
Oh.
This is a repeat. So I did say to Dan this was going to come up because he's mentioned it already, but it's Fantastic 451. This Man, This Monster. I think mostly because I had it in a Treasury edition, and I used to read it. My father bought me a load of those Treasuries, and I remember reading it in that. And I can almost, the bit where he pushes the metal tube together, the bit in the rain, the bit where he throws Reed Richards, the bit where he gets his powers back in. I remember every panel of that, man. It's just beautiful. Sinnott, Kirby, Stanley, brilliant. Yeah, that's my one.
God, mine's probably like I don't know you, Dan, but mine's like a weird mixtape of loads of different issues.
Yeah, it's going to be some of the kind of the Marvel UK reprint stuff of like G.I. Joe or Transformers or something like that. It's just a real kind of blend of everything I was fucking trying to read at the time that stuck with me.
I can think of one. I think it's the Punisher War Journal, the Jim Lee run. The writer is
with Carl Potts.
I think it's Carl Potts. It's the Von Buren, the sniper story. It was only like 2 issues, and it was the sniper from Vietnam that the part of his team. Do you remember that one, Dan? Do you remember that one, guys?
No, I can't recall that one.
No, I didn't really read that series.
Absolutely amazing. I saw it in the reprints, the UK reprints, and I just kept rereading it and rereading it and just looking over the art. I think that's probably the first time I discovered Jim Lee without really discovering Jim Lee, I think.
Okay. Cool.
But other than that, it's like a mixtape of like probably X-Men from the 90s, a lot of the John Romita Jr. X-Men and stuff like that. All kinds of stuff going on. But
cool.
Yeah. Wow, I mean, I'm going to think about that now. I need to think about
that. It's a tough one.
That was a good question.
Yeah.
But
right.
Yes. Wonderful questions.
Thanks, guys. Thanks to everyone.
One and all, actually. And thank you for
thanks for all the questions.
Thank you for keeping control of all that, Tom.
Yeah.
Very professional. Very professional.
Some great pictures appearing in the chat, I'd like to point out.
I've still locked it all away because I can only see.
You got to look at the most recent one. Please just go and look at it, Dan, and then I'm sure we can. Yeah, we can post it on the Slack for those that are on the Slack. Yeah. It's from Vince, one of Vince's favourite mangas.
You savages.
God, do you know what? I'm really scared.
It looks like having chicken tonight.
Oh my God. But everyone should get Rooster Fire. Anyway, yes, thank you very much for the questions, everyone, and I hope you lovely listeners at home enjoyed that. Back onto the regular schedule programming now, kind of. Do we have any shout outs this week, gents?
Yeah, I got a few.
I do.
Steve Lafler's new Dogboy collection is currently on Kickstarter. Yeah, what are you doing? What's going on?
I do.
So Steve Lafler's new Dogboy collection is currently on Kickstarter. I'm a massive fan of Steve's. As we previously, if you've heard me talk about him before, he's proper underground comics, that dude, and he has been for years. Go to Kickstarter, look up Dogboy, you can find it there. And he emailed me actually the other day, which I got very excited and shared with the boys. But I've got a pull quote on it, which is very exciting. The 12th of March between 12 and 5 p.m. at the Birds Pub in Leytonstone is a comics fair. Our boy Falpy will be there, as well as a number of other sort of pod faves are going to be. It's a really interesting pub in Leytonstone. If nobody's been there, it's modelled on the Hitchcock movie of The Birds. Have you done it, Gareth? No, I mean, it's our sort of that crowd. It's good. Thanks to everyone who bought a Tony tribute T-shirt. They're arriving, I think, tomorrow at Adam's house, and then they're going to be sent out. As promised, I donated £5 for each purchase, and the money has been sent to mine. So I appreciate that to everyone.
Yeah, you know, some
copy of that. And thanks to Simon and Johnny for sending books through. They sent some little presents through. So thanks, guys. Really appreciate that.
You.
There you go. It's fucking another chicken picture just appeared. Here we go. What have you got, Dan?
I've got an event, Lawless Comic Con.
The
Doubletree by Hilton Hotel Bristol, the 27th and the 28th of May. That's rolling around. It's a ridiculously long guest list. I'm not going to read all them out. I've got 89 days, 23 hours as of this podcast. So go check that. One we have mused about in the Slack and between ourselves was James Blundell's Predators, the Kickstarter. Do you remember this one? It was
I backed it. Yeah.
A £1 12-page comic short, and James went for £800. So you need 800 people pledging £1, unless people pledged more. It's kind of faltered a little, which is I'm not sure people saw coming, or we was all kind of curious to see how that's working out. It's got another 71 hours to go. It's going to have to fucking go some to get that target, but that'd be interesting. I might speak to him afterwards on through Twitter or something and see what he thinks and how he got on with it. But it's kind of I think we can all learn lessons from that one.
I think he's had about 60 backers, did you say, so far?
Something like that.
First comic. It's not too bad.
No,
it's not brilliant, but yeah.
I think it's just the way he's gone about it. You may have to change it up, and I don't know. There's
I kind of see it as an
people than me.
experiment. An experiment didn't quite work.
Yes,
I think. Been nice about it, but
but like all those things, like if you got knocked down 6 times, you got to get up 7 and just go at it again. I think he's paid for the artwork for this project, so he's just have to find another way to get it out to people.
Yeah. Can I also shout out Madelleine, which has got, when you listen to this, if you listen to this on the day of release, we'll have 4 more days. Simon's put this together. He's in the audience here. Thanks, Mr. Russell. So it's a load of essays. There's quite a few of us here, I think, who've got stories in there, little memories. Dance's quite sexy, obviously. And it's been put together. So it's got another 4 days on Kickstarter. It's made its money. You've stormed it, Simon. But yeah, it's going to be good fun. And there's skins in it as well. Paul Rainey, there's a load of actual names compared to us. But there you go.
I've only read a couple of entries and I really enjoyed them. So
yeah, me too, man.
Look
really
forward
good.
to getting the whole thing.
Yeah, good.
Nice,
and I've just got 2 shout outs. Thank you to I'll do that next. First up, congratulations to PJ Montgomery and his lovely wife Lisa.
Oh yeah,
birth of their baby boy. Congratulations from everyone here.
Congrats.
All are doing well and healthy, but we love you all very much. And the second shout out is just a big shout out to anyone who's listened to the show. I know we do this at every sort of, you can say, milestone episode, but we do appreciate every single listen that we get.
Definitely,
the conversation, the productive and diverse conversation that we have. It's a very sort of open community. Everyone likes having a laugh, but there's also some genuine thinking people who think about what they say most of the time.
Hey?
Yeah, apart from Tony. There's always an exception to the rule. But no, we obviously we do this show as a laugh, and it's wonderful to see this community of people sort of grow, and everyone loves comics, and we like seeing the community grow and we're looking forward to seeing more comics and telling you about more new comics and more new creators, etc. And but until now, we just really appreciate anyone who's ever checked out the show, whether it's one episode, whether this is your first episode and you decide I'm not doing that again. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
It's been interesting. When you start a podcast, you become obsessed with numbers, like download numbers and things like that, and you're watching like the scales go up and down. And we found a medium at one point. It was like, okay, well, by the Sunday, if we've got that, that's fine. I always look essentially for the week, and over the past couple of years, we've watched that just grow and grow.
Yeah.
So that's lovely to see. So if you're a newer listener, if you're an older listener, we appreciate every single one of you, and hope that you've discovered some great comics and had a laugh. And also not really taken a lot of the things that we say very seriously
to heart. Yeah. I found loads of great comics from readers, from listeners,
loads of people
stuff. Amazing.
Yeah. So, yes, here's to the next batch of episodes. But
road to 500.
But before that, look, we're not starting that road yet. Jesus Christ. Well, let's get to 450, and then we'll start looking forward. Actually, that'll probably happen before we know it.
Yeah.
But until that time, let's recommend a couple of things to some lovely listeners. Who would like to go first?
Well, mine's just going to be. Can I do a quick one, T?
Yeah, I'm going to just do one this week. So go down. Yeah.
My quick shout out to the comic Simon got me, which was the Dull Scum, which is a lovely little way. Like you kind of, it's the instructions on the back are 1, buy comic, 2, read comic, 3, write message on inside covers, 4, seal like an envelope, 5, send comic to enemy, friend, relative, or acquaintance, buy another comic. So the comic is. Well, I have to talk through this because it's an audio medium. Tiny, I'm not sure what size this is, but essentially you could maybe a postcard size, and you can fold over the cover, seal it, and then send it off like a postcard, like they say, to a friend, enemy, acquaintance, or admirer, and let them check out the comic too. And what a lovely little idea. And this one I've got here is Dull Scum, about two Dull Scums fellas who go out drinking and get up to japes. So
I got one of them as well. I love that little format.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
Yeah. Thank you very much for this, Simon. Mine one's NIMBY, which is about racist who gets comeuppance, which I found thoroughly
NIMBY.
NIMBY. Yeah.
Not in my backyard. Is that right?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Good stuff. Do you want to go, V?
No, nice, Dan. Do you know what?
I didn't know that either.
I literally
didn't know that.
Yeah. Okay, my one is. I'm not going to go on too much about this. This is a series that I wasn't a big. It's the second series of this particular comic. I wasn't a huge fan of the first one. We have spoken about it on this show because it was nihilistic, overly nihilistic. But after talking about the new series more, I decided, okay, let's check out issue 1 of Nemesis Reloaded.
Oh, okay.
And we've talked about this on the show. This is obviously Mark Millar is the writer. Yeah. Is it George or Jorge Jimenez?
I think it's Jorge, isn't it?
Is it Jorge?
Yeah.
Is the artist. Giovanna Nero, colorist. Clem Robbins, letterer. And obviously there's a murderer's row of talented people who have worked on this book and done the
Tony Fleece did. No, I'm thinking something else now. Who did the variant covers on that? Anyone?
The variant covers on this one, McNiven, Quietly, and Fiona Staples.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. This, of course, if you know about Nemesis, this is what if Batman was a psychopathic? In a nutshell, what if it was that multi-billion?
He was a bad guy.
What if he was an absolute psychopath? And I was obviously I saw certain panels of this book, and I thought this looks gorgeous, but is it going to be for me? Is it going to be the same thing again? And when I began the issue, I was immediately intrigued by the letter at the beginning from Mark Millar, talking about like it's sort of a soft reboot, it's a relaunch.
Yes, yeah.
Which is tweaking the origin and figuring out a new way to introduce Nemesis into this universe he's built. And I was like, okay, so it's going to be something different. It was one of those, it's a reboot, relaunch I might actually be on board with. And
there's a lot more to this reboot. The first one was very quick, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got that in trade, and I'm kind of like, I don't think I'd ever read that again. It really wasn't.
Yeah.
And there's certainly it continues the brutality of the first one in a lot of ways, but in a different way, I think.
Where you can read this without having read the first, and there's no
completely. Don't need. I would, and in fact, I would. This is going to sound crazy. Don't read the first. This is the one you need.
You don't need to. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't need to.
If you haven't, don't.
I was immediately a fan of this, and I bought issue 2 straight after reading issue 1 and read that as well. Which was fascinating because that's also an origin sort of issue. And I thought, I'd pick this as a recommendation because it was a real. Obviously, Millar's on a tear at the moment, and your opinion on his work and his comics or whatever may vary. I know some people are huge fans, some people are not, some people are in the middle, and certainly he's doing so many series that there's going to be some that don't really hit for you. I myself are a huge fan of things like Huck, Chrononauts. What was the King of Spies? King of Spies, which
was good.
Amazing.
Yeah. Is it Bite Club? Is the vampire one?
Yes, and that's the new one.
That's the new one.
It's good.
I'm okay on that. I wasn't as fussed as I thought it was going to be.
Great first issue. I think it needs to get going a bit more for me.
I've not read this one.
Yeah, it's also a comic that's very much doesn't seem like too much. I know a lot of stories happening, but it doesn't seem like anything's really sort of happening in that one. But that's my opinion. This was more my kind of tempo, which really surprised me. There was maybe that's down to the artwork as well. Jimenez is just phenomenal. Doing an evil Batman is absolutely amazing. I didn't think, and I love McNiven's work as well, but for me, because of the pacing and the action, this felt a bit more kinetic as well. And so
the vehicular stuff as well, and the perspective.
There's so much, and also it's comic book crazy.
Yeah,
it's not one of those. Let's focus on the people being tortured or that kind of thing. He's literally jumping off hang gliders, using that motion to smash through a car and kidnap someone. And it's sort of like only in comic books could that happen. Because if you thought about it in real life, he's killed everyone else in that car. If you think about it, he's just absolutely murdered everyone. But it's literally he smashes in like Batman and kidnaps someone. The dialogue's great as well. I know you guys have talked about this issue. You both read this, the first issue as well.
I really like that pop culture thing at the beginning.
Yes,
and it's like, gangsters don't talk like this.
Yeah,
yeah. There's a lot of that going on. I mean, people don't actually talk like they talk on Twitter either, but it seems to be most Marvel and DC comics are written like that.
Yeah. So
that's what he's talking about, I think.
In a real turn up for the books, this is a series I'm going to keep reading.
Yeah, same.
And it was a surprise to me. A real surprise. And so I think sometimes maybe it's worth checking out things.
Give it a punt.
Giving it a punt. Certainly, if you read the first issue, and you don't,
whether it's or not.
But the beauty about what he's doing, what Millar and all that's doing at the moment, is they do the first issue for fucking peanuts. So, have a taste. If you don't like it, you haven't thought I've wasted £3.50 on 20 pages of nothing. But that's another argument altogether.
I'll tell you what, as well, if anyone hasn't seen it yet, go to Mark Millar's YouTube channel and watch the. We're getting a little tour of JWC's house. Look, go to and he does some great interviews on there. He's done a Brendan McCarthy interview this week, which is really good. Both clever guys. Brendan's a really insightful guy. I know occasionally he likes to rub people up the wrong way, but when we had him on, he was brilliant. And I've got to say, he's an amazing artist. Skin's one of the books that people should be reading, and it's a great interview. Yeah.
So Nemesis Reloaded was definitely a case of me. Okay, right. Let's ignore the hype. Let's just get all that out of the way. Let's give this a go. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. So
great.
That's my recommendation.
Cool.
Okay, Tony, what's yours?
Mine is Groundhammer and the Defenders of the Realm #2. It's created by Ben Garwood, story by Joe Stevenson, art and lettering by Phil Buckingham, produced by Mike Oxley. I think produced means edited by. The great cover, which everyone who's on this call can see, but it's a very eye-catching cover. I think they've done 2 good covers now, and they're both the main protagonist from the thrust of the story. The first story was about an XS or an SAS guy. This is about a Gurkha. His name is Johnny Gurung, and he's holding the kukri, the old kukri knife. Like we talked about, I think when we talked about the first issue, we talked about how Gurkhas are fucking crazy. Anyone? Oh, look, John Otway's now holding up a kukri knife. What a surprise, John! You happen to have a knife already? How weird. Johnny is in Myanmar, and he's on a sort of vigilante mission. And he's discovered from his sort of vantage point, hidden away, the exchange of young women for cash. And he's acting on a tip around a human trafficking operation, and people are smuggling women into the country to be prostitutes. And he's getting one of the soldiers is pinned this girl down. He's going to rape her, but Johnny steps in and he goes to investigate and chops one of the guy's heads off. So immediately you've got this sort of special ops. It's very like the SAS story we had before. And then a sort of secret intelligence officer agent lands, this woman, and he knows her from before. And she takes him off. She says, "I need you to do something. It's gonna sort of all kick off. We need your skills." So at that point, you've got like typical special forces kind of war story. I'm thinking this is good because the guys who write this are both ex-special forces, so they've got this background in it. I'm thinking this is really good. I know something. I think of everyone here, Dan, you'd probably dig it the most. I've got to tell you.
Nice. Okay.
And then we kind of go off to another planet, and there's this sort of mystical thing going on another planet. So which they sort of hinted at in the previous issue. And if there's loads of back material on the website, so they treat in this comic, there's QR codes that appear that you can log into using your phone, and it takes you to extra material about what is going on, which is an interesting approach. And there's something going on another planet, and the arrival of a character called Lord Dagon. It goes a bit Stargate, a bit Egyptian werewolf at one point, and you think, all right, okay, right. It's almost like, have they stapled the wrong pages into this comic? A bit like that, but you go with it. Let's go with it. Do you know what I mean? And then you go back to planet Earth, back to reality again, and you get the soldier from issue 1 and the soldier, the Gurkha from issue 2, and they're about to join together. And carry on this sort of story, but you expect this other planet, the planet called Dualuna, to appear again, I think, at some point. So it's a weird one, actually. It's strange.
Okay.
I'm going to go with it. I'm going to go with each issue. They're putting them out pretty regularly. It is a little bit uneven, I'll be honest with you, but I don't like everything to be predictable, so I kind of like that idea of it. Phil Buckingham is again good in this. I think he was stronger in issue 1, but this is good. There's a couple of double page spreads in this, which I'm not certain should have been or deserved to be.
Right, okay.
Double page spreads.
Right.
I think just people getting off a helicopter ain't enough for a double page spread. Do you know what I mean? Or 3 pyramids isn't enough, but I'm going with that as well.
I tell you what, that's a failing that you see in a lot of comics, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and I can't knock this comic too much because the enthusiasm just jumps off it. Do you know what I mean? I really do like that about it. There's a couple of. I think they need to get a letter in. There's a couple of lettering mistakes. You don't put the number 9 in the middle of a sentence. You actually write NINE. You know, stuff like this. Just some basic stuff that needs looking at. But I'm going to go with it. I think people will probably read this as a trade.
Okay.
But I'm enjoying the ride of reading it as a monthly issue, or similar, because they've come out in quick succession. The guys are really nice guys. They're really putting the work into this. Johnny is based on a real Gurkha called Krishna Thapamaga, who worked in the Special Forces and now works in sustainable tourism, believe it or not. And there's actually a QR code you can click on it. It takes you to like a little bio of this soldier.
Quite the jump in it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. You can buy. They make their own coffee. You can buy ground hammer coffee and T-shirts and stuff like that. It's quite a thing, They've put a lot of thought into it. Yeah. So give it a go, guys. I've got to tell you, and they're super nice guys. They know what they're talking around the war stuff as well, the soldier stuff, military stuff.
Check this out.
Yeah, and that does shine through. And I like to think, from them knowing what they're talking about with military stuff and soldiers and firearms and machine guns and tanks and stuff, we're then going to get a rub up against an alien race. And I kind of think that's going to be good. I think when it does join up the story together, it's going to kick off a bit, which I think is quite a nice idea.
Okay.
So if you go to groundhammer.com, very easy to find, and you can get a copy of it, you can get a T-shirt, and you can get some coffee as well. There you go. That's my one.
Nice. So there you go. Not only have there been lots of fun questions, listener interaction, and a special appearance by the one and only Pat Mills, but we had some comics for you to go forth and check out. We hope you have enjoyed this week's episode as much as we've enjoyed making it. I've just finished my beer, so I'm quite pleased.
Look at you, big boy.
I'm in a real good place right now. No,
are we going to try and get everyone to say "stay awesome"?
Yeah, we're going to do that. Tom's planning for it.
Right. Okay. Well, you know what.
Everyone, get ready.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. If there's anything you want us to talk about on the next 100 or so episodes, if there's any comics, if there's any events, especially like charity and fundraising events, we just get in touch with us and we'll shout about it. There's several different ways you can do it. You can email us awesomecomicspod@gmail.com. Follow us on social media @theawesomepod. We have a Slack group, loads of great channels on there, lots of the community on there, just a positive group for comics. If you want to join the Awesome Comics podcast Slack group, then get in touch with us and you'll join, and then you'll just get stuck in. Thank you for listening to us, whether you're listening on the website awesomecomics.podbean.com. If you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, subscribe and leave a review. Helps get the word out about the show. Also, if you listened on any other networks like Spotify, Amazon, Stitcher, Podnose, Podknife, what other networks are we on, Tony?
We've got a few actually that we're on. We're on Pod, She's Dirtier Than an Office Microwave. We're on Pod, That Looks Like a Pensioner's Leg. And Pod, Big Brown Dog Barking at the Back Door.
I'm just going to stop asking you soon. I'm just going to stop asking you soon. Please don't Google any of those. But what you can do is find us online. Where can people find us online, etc.? Tony?
Neveronanything.com. Easy.
Dan?
You can find me on Twitter @Vanguard Comic, and you can read Vanguard at VanguardComic.com.
Oh, fucking hell.
God.
I fucking had a brain freeze there. And if you want to buy any of my comics, you can go to dcpublishing.bigcartel.com.
Yeah, and you'll be finding out much more about Dan's work on next week's episode.
Yeah,
we'll say no more about
got a whole episode about shilling, which looking forward to.
Yeah. Which is the currency he deals in.
Yeah.
You can find me on social media @JesterDiablo. And Tom Curry, you have been a star. Thank you very much for doing this. this week.
Well done, Tom.
Thank you.
It's been smooth as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want people to find you
No.
in the streets?
Never. You haven't, I've been on so many of these episodes. You haven't found me by now. You don't want a sponsor at this point, so don't worry about it. You've made a choice.
Hey, like the great Stan said, you know, any episode could be somebody's first episode.
Well, look another episode then.
There you go. He's been on enough.
Isn't he on Is it the Great Race you're on Amazon at the moment? Is that it? Is it? That's a Clarkson joke.
Yes. But not only thank you to Tom, but thank you to all the lovely people here.
Yeah,
who
thanks,
joined us
guys.
tonight. We really appreciate you just listening to this absolute fucking waffle for 90 minutes, as well as an awesome bit with Pat Mills.
Yeah.
So thank you to you all and to you lovely people at home for listening. Wherever you are in the world, we hope you're happy, healthy, doing okay, because we do love you very much. Every one of us loves you. Tom, you love them, don't you?
Of course I do.
Yeah. Dan, you love them?
Yes.
Tony?
Tom's fucking lying.
Don't deflect. I know you love them. And I know the people.
I love you.
Chance to be a fine thing.
Not with that shirt on.
Hey.
That's coming off.
There's a game and there's a player. You can't hate both. But wherever you are in the world, have a great week. Hope the upcoming week involves lots of comics, whether it be reading comics, making comics, just having lots of fun. And as always, actually, what should everyone do?
Ready? Stay awesome.
Stay awesome.
Jesus Christ.
That was well as I thought it was.
Oh, God.
Well done, everyone.
That sounded like a bunch of lemmings going off a fucking cliff.
That's awesome.
God.
Stay awesome.
There we go. One good one.
There we go.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
How come the bye was more together than the fucking stay awesome?
Kind of got us some flowers and a bottle of prosciutto, whatever the fuck it is.
It's got a bottle of ham.
Bottle of ham, yeah. Got that
bottle of
delivered to us,
prosciutto. What the fuck am I supposed to do?
How do you
with
get this out of the bottle?
Yeah.
You have to suck it out. Suck the ham out of the bottle. That's a new party game.
Euphemism.
Sucking ham out of a bottle. I've got a bit of ham. No, I've got a bit of ham. Suck it a bit more.
Yeah.
You have a go.
It's a bit salty.
It's a greasy ham.
Yeah.
Suck my greasy ham. I'm writing down suck my greasy ham. I'm writing it down.